Okay, we'll continue, and this time we're going to look at the diagonal stitch. And if you notice, each time you work with each of your two different colors, we have, again, two different shuttles, they turn around before they meet each other. So this is what you did back at the beginning when you made a hole, except we're not doing a whole line, we're doing each individual row, so we have to work with two different shuttles. So here you go, I'm going to show you here. I'm working with the pink shuttle on the left, and I'm going to go over, under, doing the opposite. And what I'm going to do is I want a diagonal, so I went over this warp last time. I'm going to move and do one additional warp. I'm going to wrap around, pull this through, keep it loose, push it up, and then I'm going to, sometimes you can get that other shuttle out of the way, push it up away from you. So now I'm over this one right here. I'm going to come back under that shuttle and work my way back to the left side. So again, this is working with two shuttles, and people will say, oh, I can kind of do one. No, you can't get that shuttle in. That shuttle's way too big. So you need to kind of do this again, working with the two shuttles, one and then the other. So I did the pink one there. Now I'm going to bring the red back, and the red is only going to go up to the pink. I'm not going to share that warp. All right, so watch this. Here I come. I'm going, not that one, I'm going to this one, and then I'm going to turn around. And it doesn't matter if you're over it or under it, you'll just come around and you'll do the opposite. So I was under that warp right there. I'm going to grab that red shuttle, and now I'm going to go backwards. And I'm weaving. Remember, these warps that are on mine are kind of a rust color. That's your skeleton for your fabric or your tapestry. And we're just working on top of that. So I did the pink and then the red, and you can see each time it's a little bit further, and I'm going to make a diagonal. So I'm going to do this one, do one more, and then I'll work on this a little bit more, because as I'm watching this as well, I'm thinking, it's a very shallow diagonal. I'll bet if I did two pinks and two reds, that it might be a different kind of a diagonal. I'm going to try that. So I'll try that and then show you what that looks like too. So remember, I'm turning around. I went one more than I had done last time. I'm turning around and going back, and I changed color so it would be a little bit easier to see. All right, pull that through gently, lightly, push it up. And then what I'll do is I'll bring the red back to there. So really, if you look at it, I have almost little holes between each of these. The red and the pink met, there's a hole. They met, there's a hole. There's a little hole there. There's a little hole there, and there's going to be a hole on this last one, because I'm only going to pull the red up to this bar, and I'll leave that space there. All right, so this is the diagonal. You've done a dovetail, which kind of looks like a zipper, and then you've done the open hole there. All right, more to come. Okay, so I'm back. I'm continuing with the diagonal, but if you take a look at what I'm working on here, I'm going in the other direction, and I'm turning around twice. So I turn around my red twice and my pink twice. So I'm going to do the next row here just so you can see it. And I'm going to take the red, again, I'm doing opposite around the end. And now I'm going to go one more warp, okay, because I want a diagonal. And I'm just going to do this twice. So I bring it up. You should know this system by now. I grab that shuttle, and again, I'm wrapping around this warp. So I'm coming back. It's going to be the opposite. I'm going to do that weave and repeat it and do it twice. Because I'm only doing two rows here, I can do the red shuttle. I don't have to go back and forth between the pink and the red. I can go ahead and do my two in the red, because there's room and space for me to get my shuttle in. Okay, and I'm going to come back again under, so I'm just doing the red part, and twice. I went one warp further than I did last time, so each time I've gone one further, and you can see how that's starting to make a diagonal. So I'm going to take my pink, and I'm going to do two from the left side to match that. And you'll just notice that this way, remember last time I said that was a pretty shallow angle, and I wanted a little bit of a different angle. Well, when I finish these two, I'm going to just give you an idea of how that is different. If you were planning to do, let's see, some kind of diamond shape, or you wanted to do a letter, like a K, think about how you could be doing it on a loom, and you can get diagonals like this. How could you do a square within a square? You might want to even think about that. So I'm going to do one more time, and I'll just show you how this diagonal, where I took 2 passes from each shuttle. So I took 2 passes of my pink shuttle and 2 of my red. I didn't overlap them. This is not the dovetail. This is the diagonal. So they kind of just met. There's that little bit of hole or opening between the 2 colors. And if I was in math, I'd be pulling out that protractor and I'd say, see this angle? With 2, it's a different angle, all right? So I'm not making that triangle that would have 3 equilateral sides. I'm making one that's going to have a longer edge here. What kind of triangle is that? There you go. I'm going to work a little bit more and I'll be back soon. Okay, our next stitch is going to be the Rya Knot, and it's done with individual little threads. I already have some cut here. I'm cutting mine to about 6 inches, and 6 inches for me is about this long from my thumb to my forefinger. And you can work with your fingers, you can use a ruler. I cut a piece of a Cheerio box. I'm going to make it a little easier for myself. And then this, I'm just going to wrap my thread around it because I'm going to need like 30 of these. So you're going to want to make sure you have 30, and this is one way to do it. You can get a whole bunch around this guy. And then you notice I started this at an end, so I have the end there. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hold my threads in place and cut. So be careful with your scissors. Then I can loosen my hold on it and then cut that end, and I have some more threads ready. So that's one easy way to get those cut, and you want to prepare those ahead of time. So if you look at this picture here, you're using 2 vertical warps, but 1 thread is wrapping around them. So here we go. I'm going to show you how you do this. Okay, I'm working with 2 of my warps. Let's see if I do it right. I'm going to wrap it around between them, so I need some space here as well. You get better at this as you practice it. So I use the 2, I wrap this around, bring it through, and you can see how it looks like the picture, and I'm going to pull it down over that. And you're going to say, Mrs. Wilkin, they're too long, they don't look very good. And I'll go, yeah, not, just you watch and see. So there's a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to now do the next 2. Okay, so I'm sort of overlapping that, and I'm going to include one of the warps from my first little Rya stitch in my second stitch. So I'm going to pull this through, and I'm going to pull that one through. Your fingers might be a little smaller than mine. All right, so I've got one pulled, I've got another pulled, and I'm just going to pull them down nice and tight. You want to go across 3 or 4 rows doing the same thing. So let me do a third stitch. Okay, so remember, I am going to include the warp that I included there, pull that under, and I'm going to include the next one and go between the 2. So I'm kind of grabbing 2, coming between, and pulling down. I'm pulling them over what I've already done. If you're working on your loom in the opposite direction, let me just pick mine up to show you that. I did tape it down on this table. And you notice I moved the fabric off the table so I wouldn't tape it to the fabric. If you're working this way on your loom, you're just pulling them towards you. So let's do one like that, okay? Just so you can see. I start over my 2 and I come between it and I pull it, all right? And I need to get the one that I'm doing as well as the other, okay? So that one's in common. I pull it down and I have these stitches. And eventually I'm going to go across 3 times and come back and trim that, and I'll end up with a little bit of fuzz. I actually think 4 or 5 times across is nice too. Okay, I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so I'm pretty much done. I've done 5 rows of Rya, and I have a few little extra threads. I could finish them, but I want to show you what's next. I want to make sure, because these are all individual threads and I'm going to be cutting them, I want to make sure they're locked in place. So I'm going to do some basic weaving just to lock them in place and make sure this pushes down. I'm changing color. You might want to keep the same color. I kind of like how the red looks against the purple. And you might be running out of some of your yarns too, so I'm just going to be a little careful here. And take my mouse, again doing the opposite. So I'm going to do probably about 6 rows of this. Then I'll show you how to trim your Rya, and we'll do one last stitch to close off our end. And then we'll be able to cut it off our loom. All right, there you go. I'm going to do a few more just so I lock that in place, and then I'll bring you back and show you how to trim this, how to do that one last twining stitch, and then we'll take it off our loom.